First bit of news I'm going to talk about is announcement that a new Karate Kid movie is coming. That's having Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan both come back to oppress the wolves. Now, I haven't seen Cobra Kai. I'm a big Karate Kid fan. At some point, I gotta watch that show. I've only seen the first two episodes when they were appearing on YouTube. I love the original Karate Kid movie. I liked the second one. I didn't like the third, fourth, or the Karate Kid movie with Jackie Chan. But I will say this. Even though I didn't like the one with Jackie Chan and James Smith, Jackie Chan as Miss Miyagi, he's the only thing that worked about that movie for me. He's the one thing where I'm like, if I had to take one thing from that movie, it would be him. Because I thought he was great as Miss Miyagi. I thought he did a great job playing that character and a different version of that character. And I love both versions of Miss Miyagi. And obviously, I love Ralph Macchio as Daniel. But I'm a little confused here also. Because the Jackie Chan one was a reboot, I remember. It wasn't set in this, it wasn't set in the continuity of the first four movies. So I'm excited for this, but I'm also at the same time very confused about like, are you trying to say the Karate Kid Jackie Chan one that was set in the same world as the first four, which makes no sense because Jackie Chan was playing Miss Miyagi. He was playing the same character from the character from the first four movies that the original actor played. It's not like he played a different. So that's the part that's confusing to me. I'm excited, but also just kind of like I said, confused about why it just doesn't make sense to me how you're bringing in somebody from the reboot, which was meant to reboot the franchise with the original actor. But we'll see. Maybe it makes sense once I see once I hear more about the movie and see footage and stuff like that. It'll make more sense. But I'm excited, but like I said, also confused at the same time. The next thing I want to talk about is there's Universal announced that there's going to be a new Jason Bourne movie in the works. Now, I love the first three Bourne movies. I think it's one of the best trilogies. The Jeremy Renner one and the fifth one called Jason Bourne, they were okay, but it was just forgettable. And that's the one reason why I'm a little worried about doing a new one because of quality. The last two weren't so good. Now, I definitely think you need to mid Matt Damon because of the fact they tried it without him with Jeremy Renner one, and it just didn't work. That it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. And even though the fifth one wasn't great either, I do think he's the face of the franchise. Now, I am glad about one thing. When the fifth one came out, I can't remember what year the fifth one came out. Matt Damon said after that one, he would only do another one if they have a great story to tell. I'll compare it to Indiana Jones. I love the first two Indiana Jones movies. I think the shot of Indy winding off to the sunset with his father and his friend, then in Last Crusade, I thought that did a great job of wrapping up his story. I didn't like Kino and Crystal Cole. I enjoyed the fifth one, but didn't love it. But I think one of the reasons why I just didn't love either of those two movies is that he just didn't find a great, compelling story for me to go like, okay, this is the reason why you need to bring this character back. It's how I thought about the fifth Jason Bourne movie, where when they decided not to bring him back for the fourth one, and they did the Jeremy Renner one, I was like, oh, I was excited to see him come back. Matt Damon's gonna be back as the character. But now I watched the fifth one, I'm like, it was okay, but it wasn't a great movie. And the Bourne trilogy wrapped his character up in a great way where I felt like his story ended really good. And that's gonna be with this one, like Matt Damon said, where it's, okay, if you're gonna do a new Jason Bourne movie, give me a compelling story of why you need to do another one. And not just do it because it's a popular franchise. And I'm hoping this new Jason Bourne movie ends up being kind of like Prey and Saw X. And what I mean by that is where you have a franchise where the previous ones weren't so good, but somebody comes along and has a great story with great characters to tell, and it gets me excited and back invested in the franchise. Because Saw X and Prey did great jobs out where it were both examples that get me excited for a franchise again. So I hope. What a new Toes movie got me excited for a franchise again. So I hope this Jason Bourne movie. I just hope they have a really great story to tell, and there's a great reason for why they're bringing this character back. The next thing I want to talk about is the news that Nicholas Hoult has been cast as Lex Luthor. Now, Like I always say in my past videos, I'm excited for this movie, Superman Legacy. And the reason why I think he's a great choice is because I think it would have been something cool and different to us, but I also just think, and this is the main thing for me with any casting, is that he's a great actor. I loved him as Beast in X-Men movies. I thought he was great in the movie called The Menu. He was great in the Man Master movie. I mean, to me, he's every time I've seen him in, he's fantastic in. And that's all I care about at the end of the day is just hiring a great actor, somebody who has great, who's just can really, who's just a great actor. And that's all I care about, honestly, when it comes to casting. Is that person a great actor? And Nicholas Hoult definitely has shown he is. He's shown he has range, in my opinion. And it'd be something different I haven't seen him in. So I just think he's a great choice, personally. Now I hope Les Sousa isn't the main villain because he's been a main villain for a couple of movies. I hope he's more kind of like the background villain, where to set him up to be the major threat later on in the sequels. But I think this is a great choice. Like I think I know some people think, well, this is kind of not a choice you would think of. But here's the thing about casting. I always say also is that just because it's not the choice you would think of when it comes to casting the citizens, that doesn't mean he cannot be great in the role. Like we don't know what version of Les they're going to go with for this movie. And like I said, just get a great actor. That's all that matters. And we'll see what happens when you see the movie. So I think he's a great choice, Nicholas Hoult. The next thing I want to talk about, and this will be the last topic, is the box office. So you had the Marvels, which had a 79% drop off in the second week, and you had the Hunger Games prequel, which opened to 44. Now, when it comes to the Hunger Games side, I haven't seen the prequel movie. I want to see it. I'm a big fan of the film franchise, and I've at least enjoyed the movie. Like I love the first two. I used to hate Mockingjay Part One, but on my last rewatches, I was like, it's fine. Like the final two movies, Mockingjay Part One and Two, are both okay. So I'm excited to eventually like actually see this movie. But when it comes to opening 44, it's not a great opening, but apparently the movie only cost 100, which I'm surprised by. I thought it would have cost 100 or something. But it's only made 100 globally, and the movie only cost 100. So the good thing about the Hunger Games prequel is made back its budget. I can't say whether I have legs because I haven't seen it in terms of quality. I mean, all I can say is that from what I heard, the word of mouth is that the new Hunger Games is okay, but not great. So if I had it based on the word of mouth, I don't think it's going to have legs. But like I said, I haven't seen a movie for myself to say that. The next thing, the other problems I want to talk about was the Marvel stuff. Now, I thought this movie was going to take a big drop, but this movie took nearly 80% drop off. I didn't think it would take this big of a drop off. And look, I saw my review for this movie, The Marvels. It's an okay movie. Like I had fun watching it, but it's a messy movie. It's a very flawed movie. It's not a movie I would go back and rewatch again. We'll see a second time in theaters. And it's not one of those movies that like I'll tell my friends and go like, you gotta see The Marvels. There were some problems with the movie. So I'm not surprised for the drop off. And I don't see this movie having legs or repeat viewing value towards it. Like I don't see people going back to see this movie multiple times, especially after this. And I just think, like I said in my past videos, MCU is on decline right now. I think it's, and like I said in my past videos, I think it's good that next year they only have one movie coming out because they need to get this franchise back. Because they'll enter in DCU levels right now with this movie because, and I talked about it in my past video about why this movie didn't open well, but the second week drop off, this movie's just they're gonna lose money on this, in my opinion. Like this is a movie that costs like between 219 and 270, somewhere in that area. Like, and you have to count the marketing on that too. I just don't see this movie having legs. And I also want to say this. I know some people are pointing this as comic fatigue. This is not comic fatigue. There are two things I think are happening with comic movies. And the reason I want to point out why this is comic fatigue first is that Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness made 187 opening wise. It made over 900, nearly a billion. Yet Wakanda Forever had 180 opening, made over 800, and that was out without its lead character. Thor: Love and Thunder had the biggest opening for a Thor movie, and that was a subpar movie, but it made over 700. Yeah, it was the Wakanda Forever and Thor: Love and Thunder were both drops down more wise from the previous movies. Like Thor: Ragnarok made over 800, first back to made over a billion, but those movies still opened up big and made some money. Guardians of the Across the Spider-Verse did great this year financially and clearly. Shang-Chi had a good opening, had legs at the box office. Spider-Man: No Way Home made made 1.9, nearly 2 billion. So I don't think it's comic fatigue. What I think it is, and this is my personal opinion, is the fact that it's mediocrity fatigue. People are tired of just mediocre and okay comic movies. What I mean by is that, like I said with the Marvels, it's a fun movie, but it's a very generic, forgettable movie. I think this is what people are tired of. That they just don't want comic movies to be okay now. That you have to have your comic movies be better than just okay now. And then the other part of it is that I think people want comic movies, they want them to stand out now. What I mean by that is that you gotta do something different when you do a comic movie. There's been so many comic movies at this point now that you gotta like a comic movie needs to stand out in some way. So those are the two things for me. Comic movies needing to stand out, and you just release so many mediocre comic movies right now. It's gonna, and that's like like I said, like I said before in one of my videos, any type of genre. If you release like a bunch of mediocre movies in one type of genre, whether it be horror, western, any type of genre, people are gonna get tired of them because the quality goes down, and that's in with comic movies right now. Is that the quality has been very mediocre for most comic movies right now. So I think the quality is the problem. I think the problem is, like I say, people want these comic book movies to stand out. They just want to sub okay comic book movies anymore. But yeah, this is definitely. I mean, this is one of the biggest drop offs, second week drop offs in any film's history, and it's the biggest for the MCU. So they definitely need this break coming up. I've, you heard about, you've seen all the reports online where it sounds like they're all trying to get this ship back on track and make some changes, but they need to definitely put out better movies right now and get back to where they wanted Infinity Saga. So that's all the movie news today. Until next time, movie fans.